Good morning, everybody. Give me 1 second and we'll get started here. Hey, guys. Boom. All right, let's go. Waiting on PPI. I don't know how big of a deal PPI is actually going to be unless it's a dumpster fire. I think we're more waiting on the tariff news than anything else. I really think that that's where this is, where this is all going. Let me just grab this real quick and drop this down, and then we'll go from there. But I really think that that's where this is. This is all heading. We're just waiting on the PPI, and then we'll get through the tariff news. If I had to go through some things here that I think are super, super important, I would watch Costco today, specifically around that 200-day moving average. If you can start getting over that, you start seeing this actually develop. And, you had some signs of this earlier that, this kind of trade was developing. It's not really my kind of trade, like these things off the bottom here. I know people love these kinds of trades. And, sometimes you can catch them, sometimes you can't, but you can start seeing it start to turn here and start to push and go higher. And, it does look like it's going to lift. They'd benefit greatly from if tariffs don't come there. But overall, I think when you look at some of this stuff, the biggest thing for us, and looking at any of it, is just going to get through PPI. So let's do it. PPI is 3 on the November rise year over year is 3%, 0.2 on the month over month. Retail sales are up 0.6 versus 0.5. So you have some numbers there, and that's a little high on the year over year. The month is in line, but the year over year is pretty darn high. So I don't know how I feel about that. Let's go take a look at that and see what we have there. and go from there. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's pretty high. Let me get this from a screen I'm allowed to actually show. And we'll get to this here. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. And then we'll get to it. And let me just drop it in. Drop it like it's hot. Kids still say that, right? Tell my son I'm hip all the time. Doesn't believe me. All right, cool. Core PPI 0 versus the forecast. Core PPI actual 3. US PPI year-over-year actual 3. US PPI actual 0.2 versus 2. Core month over month. Oh, that's not good. I don't like that at all. I'll show you that in a minute. And there's that. So I don't know. I don't think that's great. I don't like how high this is. You know, that's corporate profits. So it's not great. U.S. November retail sales ex auto are 0.5. Percentage change of retail and food services sales from the previous month. Oh, they're going out. People are going out and buying more. That's good. So I guess we can show that. And let me get this done and drop this in because this is kind of interesting. Hold on. Yep. One month percentage change, PPI final demand prices. And so 1 month percentage change, final demand prices. And then you have final demand of goods, and they're up pretty, and final demand of services. So services are dropping, goods are pretty high. That's the highest price for goods in some time. And then final demand of goods on PPI is actually starting to rise. That could actually just be the tariffs kicking in too on the PPI side, which is kind of interesting considering that we're in front of the court right now. So we'll have to see how that goes, and then we'll have to play that by ear. Overall, I think this is super important, but to have it behind us. In regards to the market itself, let's get to our levels. It's the same superheated. You're in this level where all you're doing is just bonking around. You've come right back down here in December. You're unable to break. These are where all our levels are. If we go to this and then again, just do the simplest thing this morning and drop it like it's hot right here. And you can see we popped our little head over this. And then what happened from there is that we're seeing this get tighter and tighter, which is definitely happening, right? And if we ever want to see that on any other level, all we have to do with it is just spend a minute, look at it, look at it, and then go to a 5 and drop it in. And you'll see that you're starting to fight that level over and over again, right? You're fighting that level in here. We hit that at 950, market explodes, and we're back down to that. So what they're trying to do and what's going to happen here, what they're going to try to do here eventually is they'll try to get that level to build and something to build under this so that the actual point of control starts to lift. And you can see how close you're starting to get to something else in here. And then all this underneath of it is starting to push higher, which is really what you want, because then you have the base underneath of you. And I think that's where this is going. So we'll see. Now, if we look at this here and we look at how this is going, what are we saying more than anything here? Right? You're above it. You're staying above it. Now you're dealing with other issues. And I think that's super important. Like I wouldn't overthink it. Let's drop it to a 1 to see what happened with PPI. And I also think it's super important that if we go here to Monday and then we go here to Tuesday at 8:30, and we just do ourselves a favor and drop it here, right at that 8:30 level. And then we just drop it here at that 8:30 level. And then we just watch that during the day. Right? What happened to it when you got over it, right? At 4 o'clock, you ran right into it, right? And that was it. And as always, same game, different day, right? And then boom, you're up and here we go. So you're not getting any higher than that. And now you have our other level here. And what you do is just mark that off as well. So you would go to that 830 right there, and you would just mark, okay, work with me. And I'd mark that off as well, right here and right there, right? So then you'd mark that off, and now you'd watch that. And then, of course, you just want to watch how you act at this level as well, right? I think it's kind of interesting that you're unable to even hold this, but nevertheless, you're actually coming in pretty hard on this, which is kind of interesting. I thought you might get some relief just that it's over, but you know, you have the tariffs today. I think the market's a little jumpy on those tariffs. So we'd want to watch that, but these are the levels that I would watch. And of course, that is your CPI area right in here. And you can see the change in trend here, right, that you're sitting right on the ES, and then that would be point of control. So gives you an understanding at least of what you're facing today. And that's what I would focus on so that you have an idea of that and you can kind of go from there. But I think that's super important for people to get. Now, in regards to that, let's take a look and go to the NQ. And let's go back to the 4-hour because this is way more important for what we're dealing with because you're becoming trendless a little bit since October, November. That's why, trading is working a little bit better on the trend side here more than anything else. So let's get to that and understand that. So here we are, right? And then here we are from that low to here. And then you can see all we're doing over and over and over again is hitting the same exact level that we've been hitting. And then there's your point of control. I want to just make sure that I'm on the right mic and that it didn't jump mics. And then go from there. All right. Okay, good. And once we do that, you can see exactly how we're doing, right? All right, cool. Then all we want to do from here is just understand the areas that we're in. And once we understand those areas, all we have to do is just realize that you're not able to get above this. So when we get into it, you probably want to be a net seller. And now when we break point of control, we have the biggest sell-offs that we have, right? So when we have the point of control, we have the biggest sell-offs that we have. And I can't stress how important it is for us to understand that. So once we get that, we're in better shape, right? All right, cool. Because you see, once you understand what you're dealing with, and I'm trying to stress this a lot lately, like once you know what you're dealing with, then you know where to go with it. And until you know what you're dealing with, you don't know where to go with it. So, until you're looking at this stuff, you have to understand that there's a trend. And whatever that trend is, if you're playing against it, just understand you're playing against it. But bonk, 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 right? And then you reject it. All the big moves down all come from what? Breaking point of control. All of them. I'm just going to do a quick lesson in here. Watch tonight for the strength report. I think that's really important. And we're going to continue that theme. That theme went over really, really well. So we're going to continue that theme. And I think that's the right thing to do. Now, in regards to NQ, one of the more important things for me with NQ, looking at the Qs, is this. And you keep hitting the same level over and over and over again. It's like Groundhog Day, man. So eventually you'll break it and you'll break out, or the market will fall apart, right? So one or the other. But I don't think the market's going to fall apart. GDP is too strong, unless GDP is going to go away. But you can't have 4.5%, 5% GDP growth and the market not go higher. It just doesn't work that way. So if you're watching how this is playing out, right, then all we're really waiting to do is just waiting to see how this is going to continue to lift. Eventually you'll break it. It's just going to take time. So when it backs off like this, just allow it to back off, and then we'll kind of go from there. But I don't really think that there's much more to say or to do there. So hold on one second. Give me 1 second. That's interesting. U.S. is withdrawing troops out of the Middle East. as a precaution. So, but I wonder if that's going to hit the market. Let's take a look. Not really. All right. Let's see. Not really. They don't seem to really care. Okay. So we're still hitting that level over and over again. Now, when I went and looked this morning, they actually, which is kind of crazy because they've been doing this a lot, like a lot, is they dropped the call wall again. So the call wall was up to 640, and now your call wall dropped all the way back down to 627. So that's really rare. Like you don't see that too often. Like once it starts going higher, they tend to grind it higher. But no, they're dropping it down. And usually when you see that, it usually is not the best day, but so we'll have to see how this goes. Give me 1 second here. All right. All right, good. Yep. So I'd watch that. So they dropped that call wall down to 627. Let's go take a look at the SPY. The SPY was in here pretty tight. Now, yesterday, the SPY, and I have to go at 9 o'clock. The whole system shut down yesterday. And it was super frustrating, like really, really frustrating. So they keep climbing the SPY, and it does make sense as to why. Like you're at 700 to 690 on the put level. I don't know that you're really going to break that 690 today. I just don't think you're going to break it personally, but we'll see. We'll see if that happens or not. But I don't think you're going to break that. I don't know. You never know. We have to see what happens with those tariffs. But you seem to be holding that. Now, you moved it on yesterday, and since then, you haven't really been breaking it. So I don't really think you're going to break that. That's super tight. When you start getting these 10-point ranges, when you start getting in there, you might get some kind of, I wonder what you're going to get today with this. You might get some kind of relief rally if they do the tariff talk, because thank God it's behind us. Tariffs for everybody or no tariffs for you. Like either way, it just might rally on that. Like, thank God it's over kind of thing, There's definitely something to that. So, I would watch them. We'll go from there. Just go through this. U.S. personnel told to pull back from an air base in Qatar. This is kind of interesting. I wonder why. Two million Ukrainians. Wow. So you get some really interesting news today. Because Trump reiterates helps on the way to Iran. Oh, that's going to be, maybe that's why we're going to get something going on there. 2 million Ukrainians are invading mobilization. That's a way of saying invading the draft. 200,000 soldiers in Ukraine are AWOL. Jesus. Okay. All right. I guess it doesn't really have to do with the stock market, but good Lord. All right, let's get to this and get to some things. What's up, JL? Yeah. So I think you need to understand that the trend is sideways. If we look at the trend here and we look at something like NBIS, to me, I really like the move you had yesterday, like really like it. I like how you emphatically got over. My concern with everything is what's going on in China right now and some of these comments. And I really think that that's how you need to look at it. I really think you need to be super, super careful there of what you're dealing with. I can't stress this enough, guys. Like, China came out and said that they don't want these chips in their country. Like, we thought it was just licenses. No, they have their people stopping it from getting in now. So they don't want the H200 in the country. So now, this is where it gets super interesting. NBIS is based in the Netherlands. They changed the name of the company. I don't know why I can't get this desk set up perfect. They changed the name of the company, and they changed the name of the company a while ago. But the thing about it is, they're in the Netherlands. They have state-of-the-art NVIDIA. China uses them for this purpose, right? They're the loophole. If US wants to come out and say this is a workaround for them using this and they're not buying the chip, we don't want to sell to NBIS anymore, this thing gets smoked. That's my problem with the trade. So I just look at it like, well, there's better names with less risk. But why would the US do that if they're allowing them to use the H200? But are they allowing them to use the state-of-the-art stuff? So I think this goes both ways. China's trying to make a stand here to use their stuff and only their stuff. I don't know how that's going to go. We'll see. But if we look at something like, some of these other names, I think Google's just like, there's two names here that to me, Google's just a no-brainer. Like, you almost hope it gets smoked just so you can buy more. SATS I've done exceptionally well with. I'm not doing anything else with it. Like, all I do is just hope it gets smoked so I can buy more of it. I really want it in really weak hands so that people panic and I can benefit off their fear. Micron, to me, I really don't like what happened yesterday from a short-term trading perspective. So what really got me yesterday was that you went through your call wall and put wall, which are like, you went through them like butter. And that was super interesting. Like, I was shocked that you have all this news. It's all good news. And you sold off. So this is the way they want to go. So let them go that way. You hit the call wall, and that was like, bam. I actually sold into some of that, but I didn't sell all of it because then the system went down because I'm currently living in a third world country. But if you look at 345, like, we sliced through that put wall and then you couldn't get anywhere near back over it. So I really like these names, but there are times when you have to look at this stuff and then just go like here's the 4 hour, right? And you have to take a step back. We'll go 4 hour and we'll go RSI. And you have to go, all right, well, I'm rolling. So like, is this really where I want to get involved? Probably not. Like, it's probably not optimal from a swing perspective. From a day, sure. But from a swing, probably not. No, it's probably not great. I mean, like, they're walking me down, right? And I'm breaking through this on the hourly. And then again, if you just do the simple stuff, and I like using the bodies, I don't like using the wicks because, you guys know this, wicks are price rejection. So if I came to like here and I looked at it that way, you'd have to go, all right, well, where does that put me? We're going to use this right here. I'm going to say it again. We're going to use this right here. And so, coming down to 323 is like nothing for that to happen. So I think you have to look at it that way and say, all right, well, we can come down to that 323 level. Yes, we can. And if we do, that's going to be an issue. Well, yes, it is. So that's really where my head is with it. And I don't really think more about it than that. So, I don't know what else to say about it. I really think that that's how I really think that's how I look at it. So I really like the name. I think that you can get some pretty massive pullbacks in this stuff. that make it almost impossible to do it as a formal swing trade. I pointed this out the other day with like STX. You're getting these swings that are just absolutely insane where, I have a 10% swing in like a day. Like there's no one that's holding this. There's nobody holding this and saying, oh, just hold on to it. Like if you are, you're just going to go out of business. It makes it really hard. But when they turn, you can actually see the turn right here. We took a shot, bought it, and then we're scaling out as it's working. And then we're scaling out, up into this. And then I raised the stop, and I'll probably get stopped out of the rest today. And I think with the storage and the memory names, you almost have to take that position now and understand like, no, we're going to trade between 200 to 300. And when it gets smoked, we just want to buy more. But do you want to like load up here? I mean, I don't know. I actually think you want to look at this stuff and say, I'll trade it. But, I really want to get to, 275 and buy it again somewhere down there. I think that's how you should be looking at it. So that's how I see those names. SATS is absolute, like you sell SATS if you think that, SpaceX is going to be a disaster. Other than that, I don't see any reason to sell that, like at all, ever. Yeah, there's a whole talk on space, paper versus silver. I don't think people truly understand how much silver you need to do anything with. So, I have an actual short position on silver right now. I'm just betting against the trend, but like, it's really hard to look at this and then just, call a top to this. And, what you always do with this stuff is realize it's going to end in tears, right? So you don't really want to hold it overnight anymore. Like anyone that's holding this stuff overnight, I wish them the best. But I mean, heck, I shorted this one time and I came in and it was like here, right? And I came in, it's like 165 on one of those days I shorted it. And you're like, you're up $40. Like, I don't know who's going from, and I'm just being blunt about this stuff. And if you are, you're going to wind up going out of business. I don't know how else to say it. But like, if you're buying these breakouts, you're like, oh, I'm just going to use this as a stop. Like, you don't even understand what's happening, right? You're just getting lucky. And then like, you're coming in, you're down like $40 on a $200 stock. Like, if that's how you want to trade, cool. I wish you the best. But even here, it's like, oh, I'm going to buy the breakout. Okay, well, then the next day you're at 180 and you're like, oh, I'm fine. And then the next day it opens at 160. You're still fine? Like you're just going to hold through all that? I don't know anybody that's doing that that's been in business for over a decade. So if you look at it like this, you got to look at it for what it is. And it is what it is. Trade it during the day, try and grab the tiger by the tail and go for a ride, make what you can. And get out of the way because God knows what they're going to do next if they can't get it down. If they can't get silver to drop or level off, God knows what's coming. That's really how I view it. You can get one of these situations, and this is, you're fighting the trend, but the more I think about it, you just get one of these situations where they just lock you out, and it just becomes, limit down, limit down, limit down, and you're just getting slaughtered. And if you think they can't do it, okay, but they can do it. I have a hard time telling people like that they need to be in silver overnight, unless they're extremely experienced. You can do it, but you don't know what's coming. And it's the same thing with like all these names, and I get it. People are buying them and they're pushing. One thing I thought was super interesting, and it might mean that this is getting a little exhausted, is that you saw CDE, HL, right? You saw all these names, like they're not pushing the same way. And I thought that was kind of interesting, that all of a sudden the silver miners are not pushing the same way. Oh, I think what you have to do, honestly, with it is you buy it, you hold it, and you look at the end of the day. And if you're up, like if you bought this, right? Like let's say that you bought this here. You were lucky enough to buy this at 195 and you're still in it, right? all you're doing is just moving the stop up. That's all you can really do with it, and say like, hey, when it hits here, I'm out and I'll take it. And maybe you're lucky enough to hold it into 320 or 400, right? Wherever the hell this thing ends. Or you're going to come in one day and you're moving the stop up, right? And then you don't honor it, or you don't have a plan, and you're looking at like 140, like on a Thursday, and we're going, well, what happened? And someone's explaining to you that, oh, they, it's sale transactions only, and, people think it can't happen to them, but all right. So, yeah, I would really think that this should be moving higher, and regional banks are just continuing to struggle. I bought one the other day, and it came out and said earnings are great. We're going to raise. We're going to be hot. We're going to be profitable more than we thought we're going to be, faster than we thought we're going to be, and everything's great. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, this stuff should definitely trade up. And it was up for like, I think, a day or two. And then wham, all of a sudden you just rolled over again, like flat FLG. And it's kind of crazy to me because, you're coming out. Yeah, our earnings are going to be great. They did earnings here. And then like, hey, we're going to be way more profitable sooner than we thought. All right, cool. And then all of a sudden it like rolls over. I don't know, man. Like, and then you look at IWM, which is rocking, and it just makes you wonder, like, well, I'm having a hard time with the regionals. Let's go here to Citi and see what they're doing. B of A. Yeah, B of A. No matter what they do, they just always turn into like a disaster. JP Morgan really is the one I want to buy, but I just want it to fall apart first. Hello from Japan. MLM. I was looking at this the other day. Yeah, I definitely think there's something to this. I think it's super thin. I think you have to be in for the long term if you're going to trade something like that. I think it's very difficult to trade that. If I look at something like VMC, material companies like this, yeah, anything like this that can process them, 100%. I also think the people that own like the mines are going to do exceptionally well. I've been saying this for some time, but I think the mines on some of these critical minerals, I was really surprised that this sold down yesterday the way it did. And the other one I was really surprised by, why I'm on the topic, because I'm going to have to jump at 9. I was really surprised that this got that contract and sold down the way that it did. So, I just was. Yeah, Honeywell, those companies are. Do you think copper miners are better bet than COPX? I think the thing with copper is that copper is not going to go under the same scrutiny that silver is. So like when the US Mint is saying we're not going to mint these anymore or do this anymore because of that's when it gets really interesting. Because you run into a completely different scenario there. It's funny. The same thing happened with Rome. People don't know this, but Rome, the coins used to be made out of like gold or precious metals. And then as time went on, they made the coin out of less gold and less gold and less gold. Which is, go look at a penny or go look at a nickel. Anyway, if you take a look at COPX and how this is all playing out, I think the most important thing about things like this is understand that the trend for copper is like, that's not going anywhere. Like if someone had to say like, where do you think this stuff goes? I think the most interesting thing for me about all of it is like, I think copper in and of itself is going a lot higher longer term. And I think copper is actually going to outperform silver this year personally, but silver is going to end in tears. And it's just a question of when, right? It just always does. But I think that copper is going to outperform it hands down because you're going to need so much more of it than people realize. So that's really where my head is with copper. And do you buy COPX? I mean, the thing about COPX to me is like, if you look at FCX, like I think FCX personally was a better trade. I think you look at SCCO, these things are just on absolute fire. It's just very difficult to get in them because really what you need some kind of pullback, and you're just not really getting that. So, you really have to watch that and kind of go from there. That's kind of where my head is with it. So, we'll see how this goes, but I don't really think that there's much more. I don't really think there's much more to do there. I am curious about something why I have this. I'm really curious about how this went. So you closed at 230. I want to just see this. And if I open up this new chart, yeah, so you were at 15. So even the like what's interesting to me is even the so you're at 15. So even the straddles aren't working. So even if you straddled this, you still lost money today. Huh. 11% in a day, and you're still losing money on the straddle. That's crazy. So anyway. Yeah, the Victoria's Secret was super interesting. I think you have to look at it like this, buddy, with copper. Like, I do think you're better off there. I don't really want to touch any of these names until you see what the Fed does and what they don't do. And I think once you see that, you can make a more informed decision. But I don't think you want to touch them until then. I just don't think you do. Let's just go there. Let's keep going through this. Good morning. I think the copper miners are okay. I just think you're better off just buying the thing you want to buy. But if you had to look at it, I mean, everyone's asking about the copper miners. So like it's FCX, SCCO, TECK. This is the one that most people like to buy because people don't know it. So it actually usually trades at some kind of discount. So I don't know why this is spiking. Why are you spiking? Preliminary worldwide Da Vinci growth is popping. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's supposed to be more than that. I don't know. Someone they'll know. BK should be super interesting. I guess they don't like that growth. Yeah, that's the one, but I don't know that I would be going with that. Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen, dude. Like it's going to happen, dude. Like you're going to get stopped out of it. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten stopped out of an AGQ long. Like, what am I supposed? What's your alternative? No stop. Like, ask the guy that bought it here at 200, and then you're at 155 that didn't have a stop. You think he just like? And most people are just holding that and praying that this time it's going to work. Like that's hope's not a strategy, man. I've seen how this ends, and spoiler alert, it ends with people in tears going, "Oh, I used to be a trader." That's a tough market. That's tough, So I'm just telling you, like, you need a process, and there's no perfect system. You just have to optimize for yourself. Like if you're somebody that won't sell into strength because you're so busy cheering about how brilliant you are, then what you want to do is, you want to use a trailing stop. I tend to think that you're better off. I think you're really better off just selling into the strength, like literally. Oh, you popped or you bought here. Oh, it's up. Oh, trim. Oh, it's up again. You're up. Like, let's say you bought here or you bought here, right? Just to give you an idea. Like, and I should do videos on this crap, but on how to get out of this stuff, because now you have nothing until you're out, right? You have a dream. So like, oh, you hit a new high, I trimmed. Oh, you hit a new high, I trimmed. Oh, you're hitting a new high, I'm trimming. And people are like, no, you got to hold. Okay, that doesn't work because you never know when it's going to end, right? It's like, here's a great example. We bought this at 270 or 280 a couple of days ago. And then like we caught it. We're very fortunate, right? So we caught it, we saw a pattern, whatever. So it trades up, we trim. It comes in the next morning, hits another resistance point, we trim. Up, hits our target, we trim. So by the time we're up here, we have like a third of it left. And then you're just moving the stop up, right? Based upon certain principles, so that when it gets stopped out, you're out of it. But meanwhile, if it broke out, went to 400, I still have it. You're better off doing stuff like that than just like spraying and praying that you're going to hold, because eventually you're going to come in one day and it'll be down like 50 points. You just got to be super careful, man. I'm not telling people not to do it. You should do what you're comfortable with. Don't get me wrong. Like, I have puts on the damn thing. I was up 75% in them yesterday. I didn't close one of them because I think I could come in this week and be looking at like 180. And everyone's like, oh, what happened? The LME just told everyone they have to sell. Well, they can't do that. Well, they just did. So, no more open positions. Now what? People think it can't happen. It's happened in the past. It's going to happen again. But all right, I got to jump. See you guys. This ISRG news must have been really bad because they're doing the exact opposite with it. They're selling the heck out of it. So clearly they don't like that news. They clearly don't like that news. U.S. visa processing frozen for Russia, Brazil, Iran. Guess we're fighting with Brazil now too. Okay. All right, guys. See you.